Welcome, everybody. This is Southwest Missouri SCORE's Tuesdays at 2 webinar series. Our webinar today is 4 personal perspectives for entrepreneurs with Dena Loader-Hurley, and we'll introduce Dena in just a moment, but I would like to start by introducing everyone to SCORE and what we do. A little bit of housekeeping. We've got 2 moderators on today. I'm Katie Pattison. I am the workshop chair for SCORE Southwest Missouri, and we also have our moderator, Charlie Evans, on from the Christian County Library, who is our partner today in this workshop. Again, introduce yourself in the chat if you would like. This webinar will last about an hour. We'll include time for questions at the end, and you're welcome to post questions in the chat throughout. We'll kind of get to them as we can. You can use the chat or the Q&A for that. Everyone who's registered for this workshop will receive an email within about a week, usually less time than that, that includes the recording of this event. And if we have any handouts or anything like that, those will be included as well. And you'll also receive an evaluation email from SCORE. We'd love for you to take a few moments to fill that out if you can. That helps us plan for future workshops. And let's talk about SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit that's here for you for the life of your business, and we have mentoring and resources to support you from business idea to exit. There are 3 ways we like to talk about how SCORE can help people. The first one is providing free business advice and mentoring. So if you are starting a business, growing a business, wherever you're at in business, if you'd like to have a mentor to kind of help you talk through decisions, access resources, you can get that for free from SCORE. You can just visit the SCORE website at score.org to request a business mentor. The cool thing about SCORE is we probably have a local mentor here in the area that can help you, but if you have a really specialized need, you have access to SCORE mentors from across the nation. SCORE also offers low or no cost business training, just like the workshop you are in today. You'll also find live classes and workshops on the SCORE website from SCORE chapters all over the US. As well as on-demand workshops there on that SCORE website. And the SCORE website also has free business templates and resources. So if you're doing a marketing plan, you're working on a business plan, whatever you got going on, if you need some information, SCORE is going to be a great resource to help you. Charlie and I are both librarians, and we can tell you the SCORE website is one of our go-to places when we're helping folks with business questions, because we know the information there is reliable and helpful. So score.org is where you can find all of that stuff. Just a quick plug for a couple of upcoming workshops. So we have a workshop coming up called Attracting and Retaining Young Talent. Now, we did have a presenter called James Bonds for that workshop, who is amazing, but James had another commitment. So we have a fill-in presenter for that, Jonathan Bell. You all may have heard of Jonathan. He lives here in the Springfield area and is an amazing young entrepreneur. So if you are in a business that is hoping to attract or retain young talent, you'll want to hear Jonathan's insights on that. The next workshop after that is Podcasting for Small Business with Cassie Potts. I'm sorry, Cassie is not with Growth Kit Digital. She has a very cool Facebook group called Fem Mastermind. If you are a female entrepreneur, you should totally look that up and join that group. And that is on the 16th at 6 p.m. at the Schweitzer Brentwood Branch Library in Springfield. There's also a virtual option for that if you can't make it in person. You can register for any of those at swmissouri.score.org. And I'm going to give a quick plug for the SCORE E3 Women's Conference. It's coming up in September at the 13th and 14th. E3 stands for Educating and Empowering Entrepreneurs. This conference is a 2-day conference. We have some amazing keynote speakers, some amazing local speakers. You can find out more about that at e3score.org. It's a great value, just $119 for that 2-day conference. And definitely check out the website and our social media on that. We'd love to have you join us there. I always like to say that men are absolutely welcome at the Women's Conference. So please, even if you are not a woman, we would love to have you at our conference. And everything SCORE does is made possible through the efforts of our volunteers nationwide. We have over 10,000 volunteers serving clients in over 1,500 communities. If you might be interested in becoming a SCORE volunteer, you can reach out to me. You can head over to score.org/volunteer. It's a great way to get connected in your local business community, meet a lot of different entrepreneurs, and help kind of empower our business community to grow. So again, there's those websites. Score.org is the national website. Our local chapter website is swmissouri.score.org, or our women's conference website is e3score.org. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Charlie to talk about the Christian County Library.
The Christian County Library is proud to support this SCORE workshop. The Christian County Library has many resources and solutions for small businesses. We can help businesses identify consumer and market trends, provide self-paced technology training, space for meetings, and free Wi-Fi and notary service at every branch. Come visit us at one of our four locations in Ozark, Nixa, Clever, Sparta for your small business needs. Our speaker today has worked in the real estate industry for over 12 years, and her current focus is on training and development. Today, she will be presenting on 4 personal perspectives for entrepreneurs. Please welcome Dena Loader-Hurley.
Thanks, Charlie. Okay, Katie, can I go ahead and share my screen? Is that all right?
You bet.
Okay. Oh, I need just a second. Boy, we even practiced this. This should have been seamless. Oh, technology. Give me just 1 second. We're so close. Okay, can you see my screen there?
Looks great.
All right, very good. Well, hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. I love entrepreneurs and I love small business owners, probably because I am one, probably because I've loved a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm from a long line. My great-grandfather had a livestock business and a feed yard, and then his son, my grandpa, was a master carpenter, and my mother, it's just gone down and gone down and gone down. I love talking with small business owners, and I think one of the things that I love the most is the hustle that is required when you are an entrepreneur and a small business owner. You are, as the owner, especially if you're starting out, you are the wearer of the hats. So you answer the phone, you go on the appointments, you may close the deal, you're doing the installs, the deliveries, providing the service. You are the wearer of the hats. And I think that's why one of the things that I feel most passionate about is mindset and talking about mindset. I heard someone say recently that if there's a problem in a business, it started with the owner or with the leadership. And I think that's true. I don't know the research that it's based on, but I found that to be true in my life. I'm a realtor. That means I help people buy and sell homes, and I teach other agents how to do that as well. So when I'm at my best, when I'm confident, when I know what I know, and I know that I know that I know, I can show up and know that I can help someone achieve their goals. Now, when I'm not at my best, when I'm tired, when I'm drowning in my own insecurities, I show up as someone that they probably shouldn't hire. So I think it is so important that we manage and set ourselves and guard our mindset. The quality of our questions determines the quality of our results. And the information I'm going to share with you today is something that we talk about a lot at Keller Williams. That's the company I'm with. This is actually 6 personal perspectives, but it's usually at least a half-day class. So I thought for an hour, we're going to cut it down a little bit. So there is more, but I'm going to give you the best. So the question that was asked was, let's see, let me get what is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish as much. You know, it's really easy, again, as business owners, as aware of the hats, sometimes it seems like there are a million fires that need to be put out and a million questions that set on our pain points of how to do this, how to solve this problem, finding leads, converting appointments, getting contracts, whatever it is that you need to get. And we can ask those very good questions and we can get really, really good answers. The challenge becomes when we don't step back far enough and ask the big question. An example that I use, imagine that I wanted to really understand dorm life. I want to understand what it's like to live in a college dorm. So a good way to answer that question would be to go to a dorm, to talk to people that live there, to look at how they live and how they interact. And I would understand dorm life. The challenge would be if I bring my pain points and the questions that show up in my life and put them over or on top of what's happening there. I'm a mother of 4 children. At one point, I was also a foster parent and I had 7 children, 12 and under. It was just for a season, but as you might imagine, laundry was a big pain point. So if I took my pain point and I went with this question of what is it like to live in a dorm? I go to the dorm and the people that live there, and my burning question is, but how do you do the laundry? Now, I might get a good answer. I might get good explanations and a tour of their laundry room. I might understand it really, really well. And I will walk out not really knowing what dorm life is like. So as we think about going into business, being entrepreneurs, building businesses and organizations, part of it, we have our real questions, the things that we need to figure out and that we need to answer. And we're going to talk about that. We also need to take more of a 30,000 foot view and ask the question, what is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish as much? I think those business owners, those entrepreneurs who are successful often show up in the world in a different way. They seem to see things that other people don't see. They make connections, they put things together, and they build things in a way that many of us didn't even realize could be done. So that question then became the foundation for masterminds and conversations of asking highly successful people. And there are 3 components that came up, and that was mindset, attitudes, and an overall approach to life. So what I'm going to share with you today are 4 personal perspectives. And these are 4 things that become orienting postures for us to assume as business owners and entrepreneurs. So very quickly, the 4 are: number 1, commit to self-mastery. Number 2, commit to the 80-20 principle. Number 3, make being learning-based the foundation of your action plan. And 4, be accountable. So number 1, commit to self-mastery. Now, I think the prerequisite for self-mastery is self-awareness. And self-awareness is tricky. I have some people in my life who I would say, in my opinion, if I could be so bold as to offer it, lack self-awareness. And that's its own pain point. But it also makes me very self-conscious because I see them and I think, I don't know if they hear themselves or they realize the way they're being experienced. And I get fearful that I'm lacking self-awareness, because if I'm lacking self-awareness, I will be the last one to know it, or maybe. So part of that growing in self-awareness is about studying yourself. Jim Collins, the author of the book From Good to Great, talks about a bug book and his endeavor to study and to learn about himself, the way he would learn about a bug or something he wanted to study. Go back to my example of dorm life, of looking at how these different things, the different pieces and the way they interact with each other. If I want to understand myself and I want to master myself as the business owner. And if I want to grow in self-awareness, I need to understand myself. I need to grow in that. So the self committing to that bug book thinking, that requires, number one, coming from a place of curiosity and staying out of judgment. It would be really easy to watch myself in the way that I do things and find fault with it. I don't know about you. I tend to find entrepreneurs and business owners can be some of the harshest self-critics. But moving out of judgment and coming from a place of curiosity, sometimes I watch myself do things and I think, what are you doing? And studying, growing in self-awareness for the purpose of self-mastery means noticing that, exploring that, making notes of it. I'm an avid journaler. I journal to get my thoughts out of my head onto the paper. And that helps me when I go back and look at it. I learn a lot. It's not always pleasant, but by growing my self-awareness, that's what allows me to move into self-mastery. Now, self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skill, and habits that make you the master of you. So when you commit to self-mastery, that means, number one, you have to know your goals. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses. And you have to know how to work with both your strengths and your weaknesses to reach those goals. It's really common when we start talking about strengths and weaknesses to want to focus all of our time and attention on the weaknesses. If I could just make these weaknesses stronger, if I could just improve these weaknesses, then that would make everything better. Imagine what would happen if we noticed our strengths and built on our strengths and made our strengths stronger. So I'm curious, what are some strengths and weaknesses that have shown up for you in your business? How have you dealt with them, overcome them, if they're a weakness? And how have you learned about those? I always like Jim Collins' bug book analogy. That helps me. I love journaling. I've already told you that. I'm curious how you've come to know that. So drop it in the chat, and Katie will tell me if there's something there. The other thing that's been hard for me is knowing my goals. When you are the wearer of the hats, when you have to do all the things and everything needs to be done. And if we look at it and think everything is of equal importance, it can get overwhelming. And getting really clear on where we're going and what we want accomplished is how can we know if we're going in the right direction if we don't know where we're going? So committing to this self-mastery then, knowing our strengths, knowing our weaknesses, knowing where we're going and knowing what the goal is what takes us to our second principle. And that's the 80-20 principle or the Pareto principle. Basically, the 80-20 principle says that when we are focused on the 20% that matters, we get 80% of the results we want. So then it becomes very important to know what we want and what we're trying to accomplish. Now, I work with new agents. I help agents who are getting their license. I teach the pre-licensing, and a lot of times I will help with agents who are newly licensed. And I had a conversation it's actually a very common conversation, and it's one that I recognize because I know it's one that someone had with me. When you're getting started in business, as a realtor or any other business, there are all the things that need to happen. All the things, the business cards, the website, that we need the computer, we need the phone, we need the technology, all the things. And talking with an agent, I asked him, what is your income goal for your first year in real estate? And he gave me a number. And it was realistic, and it was doable and ambitious. It was still ambitious. And I said, okay, so tell me what you're doing right now. How are you going to hit that goal? And he said, well, you know, I'm really focused on getting my business cards right now. He said, I want something that's different, and I want something that's unique. And I get it. You may have to have business cards the way you're going to run your business. That may not be something you need. He felt like that was really important. And as we talked about it, I flashed back to 12 years ago when I was getting started. And that feels really important. The question then becomes, if your income is the goal to hit this amount, you can have the best business card or the best website in the marketplace, and no one is going to pay you for that. If you're in an event planning business, you need to have events booked. If you're in real estate, I need to be talking to buyers and sellers. And that's what I said to him. You need to look at what is the most important right now and what's where you need to be putting your best effort. Yes, those other things need to happen, but what's going to move the needle? What's that 20%? Because the truth is, the world doesn't know your purpose or your priorities, and they aren't responsible for them. You are. You chose, if you chose to start a business, to go out, to be an entrepreneur, you have a vision, you have a goal, and no one else may see it, no one else may get it, no one else may understand it. It is not their job to. It is your job. And once you have clarity about where you're going and what you want, then you're the one that has to determine what's going to move the needle. Where do you need to be giving your best contribution, knowing that 20% of your efforts will give you 80% of your results? You can spend that 20% on business cards, designing business cards. If the result, you might have a great business card, it might be great. If that's not where you're going, it's not going to bring you the results you want. So make sure that you're pursuing clarity and that you're moving toward what you want. The other piece of that is then time blocking. Things take time, whether it's the business card or the website or the things that are actually going to move the needle. For me, talking to buyers and sellers, I need to make sure that that time is in there, that I'm time blocking, that I'm putting it in my schedule, I'm committing to it. And if I'm not having appointments, then I'm working on finding more, that I'm finding more people to talk to, that I'm preparing for those appointments that I'm going on. Managing, keeping in mind, what is the goal? What is the real goal? And what's going to move me closer to that goal? And that's time blocking. Now, I think as entrepreneurs, we are notorious for thinking, well, that doesn't work because something's going to happen. Someone's going to need me. I never know what's going to happen or what's going to come up. And that's true. Wear of the hats. I get it. At the same time, if we have no plan and we don't put that in place, then what are we aiming for? We become a passenger in the car rather than the driver. And being the business owner, taking responsibility and saying, I'm driving this car, means that you know your priorities and your purposes. You know the goals. You know what's going to move the needle on those goals, and making sure that your days and your time is structured around those things that are going to move the needle. Okay. Number 3, step 3, make being learning-based the foundation of your action plan. Boy, it's so easy to get swept up in everything that needs to be done, all the fires, all the things, and to step out of learning the things that we need to know. Now, you've probably heard this, a jack of all trades is a master of none. Now, I've already said, I love y'all because you're the wearer of the hats. The whole quote is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. There are things that you have to know, all the pieces of your business. So by growing in self-awareness, then you also have to know the things that you don't know and that you need to know, and the things that you're really good at. Now, this is a competency model. This is one competency model. It moves from unconscious incompetence. That's where we don't know what we don't know. It's easy to think of a child, a 2-year-old that wants to help paint the wall or make the bed, and they just don't even know what they don't know. I've experienced this recently. I bought a fixer-upper. I have always wanted to do that, and I bought one. And I've never painted. My mother loves to paint. She painted since she was a little girl. And so I just tried it. Hey, Mom, you want to come spend time with me? And you can paint, and I'll just enjoy that she's a pro. Obviously, it's my house, so I couldn't just do that. I needed to learn some of it too. And this month, I've learned how to paint trim. I don't know if you've ever painted trim. I didn't think it would be that hard. I thought that, watch a few YouTube videos. This is fine. My mom came over, told me what to get. She's showing me how to do it. Even watching her, I thought, yeah, I can do that. And then I got the paintbrush, and I felt like a 2-year-old trying to help paint the wall. I didn't know what I didn't know. Now, once I got into it, actually using the paintbrush, painting the trim and trying not to get it on the wall and all of those things, then I was very aware of what I didn't know. And I moved into that second part of conscious incompetence, very aware of it. I knew exactly what I didn't know. Now, there's a lot of trim, and I've painted a lot. I don't know that I'm at conscious competence yet, but I'm closer. Conscious competence is I'm aware of it, and I can do it relatively well. Now, I know that I need to be very conscious. I need to be very attentive. That's not something I can do at the end of the day when I'm tired, when I'm hungry. If I'm upset about something else, I need to be able to give it my best time and attention, because it's conscious competence. We know it's not muscle memory yet. So that unconscious competence, there are things you do that you are so good at, and you don't even know. You may not even be aware of it, because it's just what you do. It's just what you do. I think that's the real advantage in getting into training, teaching, and mentoring. There are things you do that you do without thought. It is completely unconscious, and it just comes naturally. My mom is like that with painting. She's amazing. She's amazing. And when I don't think she realized how much she knew until she had to teach me how to paint trim. It seems so basic, and yet it was in showing me and teaching me. She realized she was naming things that she does without thought. She has the muscle memory. It's unconscious competence. So we've already talked about self-awareness and self-mastery. You need to know and be aware of the things that you need to know, and evaluate whether you know them or don't know them, and be able to move through that. It's really easy. And we're at a point in history right now, there is so much information available, videos and books and articles. You can make learning the only thing that you do. It's knowing for knowing's sake. When you're in business, when you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's knowing for doing's sake. Again, going back to committing to self-mastery, knowing where you're going, knowing what you have and what you need, focusing on the 80-20, the 80-20 rule, moving the needle, and knowing what's going to move the needle. And if you don't know how to do the things that will bring the results, that will move the needle, then you need to look at the learning that you need to take in. I gave the example of a new agent focused on business cards and websites, things that matter, not the primary thing that will move the needle. So if for this new agent, for any new agent, for any business owner, well, to stay with the example of the realtor, what will move the needle is helping buyers buy and sellers sell. So that new agent needs to be ready to talk to buyers and sellers. That agent needs to know the forms, to show the houses, to write the contracts, to do all the steps between getting a house under contract and going to the closing, because that's where the buyer or the seller meets their goal, and that's where the agent is going to get paid and meet their goals, their income goals. So if they're not ready to have the conversations, if they're not ready to look at the forms, if they're not ready to show property or to price property or to do any of those things, then there's a lot to learn. This is where having a coach, having peers and mentors who can help you evaluate where you are, where you're going, and what you need to do to get there can help you. Helping, not only rating where your competency is on a particular point, getting feedback from others, and then basing your growth plan around your action plan. So if you need to talk to or do so many events or sell so many pieces of art or so many speaking or teaching gigs or so many articles, then working backwards from that, you have the action plan. And then if there are things you need to know along the way, then that becomes your growth plan or your learning plan, being learning based and having the discipline to stick with that. So that's being learning based. And then the fourth one is being accountable. I will tell you, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I have had a really complicated relationship with accountability, partly because I hadn't worked on that step one, the self-mastery. I didn't know what I wanted. And as a people pleaser, it's very easy to take on the agendas and the priorities of everyone else. Now, sometimes you have to do that. We have to do things we don't want to do. There is a moment, though, where when we take something on, whether it's someone else or it's our own goal, accountability is about the agreement that we have made that we will do this. Now, as I've grown in my self-awareness and in my self-mastery, as I've known and figured out my goals and my purpose and where I want to go, accountability is not the pain point that it used to be. When you feel like you need to do all the things and everything's of equal importance, and then you walk into a session, there's always room for growth and there's always something I'm not doing well. That's not about accountability. Accountability is saying, I'm the driver of this car. I own this, and this is what I've said I want. This is what I've said I'm going to do. And this is the agreement that I've made. And accountability then becomes, am I doing what I said I was going to do, what I said I wanted to do? So some of this, there's a shift in mindset that comes here. And that's the difference between being a victim or being accountable. Being a victim doesn't seek reality. If you're a victim, if it's everything else and it's everything out there, then you're not looking for reality. You're just hoping. Being accountable, being the driver of the car, seeks reality. Where are we? It's knowing the numbers. It's knowing the accounts receivable and the accounts payable, the money coming in and the money that needs to go out. It means knowing what do we need to do to hit this goal, whether it's an income goal or a volume goal or people we talk to. We want to know where we are, seeking reality. Being a victim, you're fighting reality. It can't be like this. And if you're powerless to change it, fighting reality might be a good strategy. When you're the owner, when you're the driver, you can acknowledge reality. Reality is not something to fight because you are not powerless in that equation. You have the power to act and the power to respond. Being a victim, it's blaming. I think it's Brene Brown that says we blame as a way to discharge pain and discomfort. When we're in pain, we blame someone else, or we look for someone to blame. And who hasn't done that? Gosh, I love a good scapegoat. But being accountable means that we own it. We own it. Things go the way we wanted it to go. Things didn't go the way we wanted it to go. We seek reality, we acknowledge reality, and we own the situation. We choose and we decide not to be a victim. We can't control everything that happens, everything that comes into our life and into our businesses. We can control how we respond to it. As a victim, we look for excuses. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. My kids need this. My partner needs that. All of these things, there's all the excuses for why what we want to happen and what we say we want to happen can't happen. All the excuses. When we're accountable, we find solutions. We can't have both. Now, there's a place for exploring and explaining, okay, what happened here? This didn't go the way we wanted it to go. And there's value in reflecting on getting the lessons. That's different. Staying in the excuses keeps us from finding the solutions. Being a victim, we wait and hope things will get different. Things will be better. Being accountable means that we get on with it. So being accountable then, if I say, this is what I want to do, I'm starting this business. For me, I'm expanding my business, my real estate business, and I'm working into a new market. So if that's what I'm committing to, then being accountable for the activities that I do, that I'm setting the goal, I know where I want to go. I know the things that will move the needle. I have the action plan. What I don't know, I'm learning. And then I'm making sure that I'm being accountable with someone, with a coach, with a mentor, with a peer. So this is an accountability session model. So this is when you set that goal, when you make the commitment or the agreement, this is what we're shooting for. Then there needs to be periodic evaluations of how did you do? Did you hit the goal? Did you not hit the goal? Did this happen? Did this not happen? And then how did you feel about that? And part of the thing, there is a place for reevaluating the goals we set. Sometimes we say we want this. This is something we want. This is a direction we want to go in. And our actions just don't match. They just don't match up. So sometimes going back to number one in that self-awareness and the self-mastery, what's happening there? What is it that are we not truly committed to that goal? Is there a learning that needs to take place? Are we saying something that's the right answer? This is what I'm supposed to want. Or is it something that we're deeply committed to, that we're doing? That's where, by making that commitment, making that agreement, setting that goal, and then evaluating and reflecting. How did you do? How do you feel about it? And then making adjustments based on how you did. What is your goal and what do you need to do now? And then looking at those two options. Is there anything that might keep you from doing that? So then that becomes removing the obstacles or addressing them. Or if you need training or support to accomplish this, what might it be? For me, I had a concept of accountability that was basically a child getting in trouble. And when you lack clarity on what's really important, and there's always things that are wrong, it became an exercise in self-flagellation and stepping into a place of judgment and shame. Being an owner says, this is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing. This is what this company's doing. Setting a direction. making a commitment. And there are some things, listen, I don't have the best business card in the market. I don't. And that's okay. And there are other things that, boy, that could be better. I wish that was not kind of how it is. Having clarity on the purpose, on the priorities, and on the goal keep me focused there. And there are other things that don't happen, or maybe don't happen as well as they might happen if they were the goal of the purpose. There has to be a method for evaluating and critiquing what gets our time. We are finite beings. Time is not an unlimited resource. So managing the time and the energy that we have becomes our most important responsibility. So here's the bottom line. In becoming a high achiever, so here are the 4 personal perspectives. Again, commit to self-mastery. And remember, the prerequisite for self-mastery is self-awareness. Number 2, it's committing to the 80-20 principle. What is the 20% of work that you're going to do that will accomplish 80% of your results? Number 3, make being learning-based the foundation of your action plan. Now, that assumes you know where you're going and what needs to happen in order to get there. And then breaking down what are the things you need to learn that will support that action plan. And then number 4, it's being accountable. How are you going to be accountable? Who are you going to be accountable to? Who's going to ask you the questions and call out greatness in you? So I want to give you just a few minutes to kind of think through those 4. And then on the slide, it says, for each perspective, write down one thing you'd like to implement. So I'm going to give you about 1 minute just to think about that, just to kind of let it sit. And think about one thing that you could do in each of those 4 areas. And I'm watching the time, so don't get nervous. Boy, 1 minute feels like a long time when there's nothing happening, doesn't it? So the question that we started with is, what is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish as much? So these are 4 personal perspectives. Like I said, there are actually 6. The other 2, there's no way that we could fit them into the time that we have. So my encouragement to you, and I'd love to open it up for questions, or if there's something that you want to share, something that you're going to do based on what we've talked about today, I'd love to hear that. So Katie, I'll turn it over to you if you want to open that up.
Okay, let me just start my video again here. So you all, if you would like, can share your questions, or maybe you've figured out your one thing as you're brainstorming there. You can share it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. I was working on it myself, Dena, and I think for me, like thinking about making time for professional reading to start having that kind of, like, we get so wrapped up in the day-to-day, stuff, and there's always like more to do. And I know like things that I would like to read and learn more about to sort of step up the game or whatever, but I often do not make time for that. So
yeah,
that was my one thing as I was doing your brainstorming exercise.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, and it's that tyranny of the urgent. That book will never yell at you from your desk. Read me, read me, read me. But all of the things in the office and the people that want you and need, they will yell and scream at you.
Yeah, that's right.
They may do it very politely, but.
Does anyone
Very
else want
good.
to share
Okay.
or have a question? Give folks just a minute to type. Nothing in there. All right.
Okay. And that's fine. And I will, Katie, I will send these slides to you so they can be sent out with the email and with the recording.
Okay, perfect. So folks, we will send out a copy of Dena's slideshow, which will be great because there's a lot to think about in there. And I know some folks will definitely want to go back and review those things so they can do their own kind of thinking through. We'll include your contact info in case you all want to reach out to Dena and ask any questions that come up after. Yeah, anything to add, Charlie, or?
No, thank you, Dena.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was great to be here.
Okay.
Love me some SCORE.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time. You can visit the website at swmissouri.score.org to sign up for our next few workshops. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.